I've often said that Black Americans are suffering not because of racism, that there is no such thing as racism, no such thing as sexism, Islamophobia-ism, homophobia-ism, no isms. It's either right or wrong, good or evil. I have with me Tim Black, and Tim is a live radio, video, and podcast host dealing with news, politics, and entertainment. I wanted to talk to Tim about some of these things. Tim, good morning. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, good morning, Jesse. Thanks for having me, my friend.
Yes, sir. So, Tim, are you a liberal, conservative, or where do you stand when it comes to politics?
I'm just me. I would like to say that I have different views on different issues that would put me in different camps. So, I'm more of an independent. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. So I'm an independent. That's how I'm registered.
Have you ever voted for a Republican?
No, I haven't.
Have you voted for a Democrat?
I voted for Obama in 2008.
And, did you vote for him twice or just once?
Just one time.
Why not the second time around?
I didn't think he was getting done the job I needed him to get done.
Yeah, I understand. So you were disappointed in him?
Yeah, I was disappointed, and I didn't think that the change was the type of change that was actually manifesting and helping communities and resolving the issues that I thought more war was what took place, and I was against that.
Amazing. President Trump called out the NFL player Marshawn Lynch of the Oakland Raiders, who stood for the Mexican anthem but sat for the American national anthem. And the president said, very disrespectful. Next time, he should be suspended for the remainder of the season. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with it at all.
And why not?
I don't think that Trump should be deciding what an employer does with an employee that's not under his watch, that's not under his leadership. Trump should, if he wants to suspend people within the White House, that's fine. But why should he have a say in what another company does?
Well,
that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, we pay for the stadiums with our tax dollars, and the president pays taxes, so he has a right to comment on it. Just as Barack Obama, the fallen messiah, whom I didn't agree with anything about, supported the far-left liberal radical agitating group Black Lives Matter, who worked in the KKK. So you have to agree that the president, as a taxpayer, has a right to comment on it. Isn't that true?
To comment on it?
Yeah.
I think it's a waste of time, frankly.
But he does
it's a waste of time.
But he does have a right to comment.
Well, what you have a right to do and what you should do, what makes sense to do, are two different things, don't you think?
Does he have a right to comment as a taxpayer?
He has the right to comment as a human being, but doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. I don't think it is.
But he does have a right as a taxpayer to comment, right?
He has a right as a person who has a voice. Freedom of speech is very important. You use it, I use it. He has a right to say whatever he'd like to say. Do I think it was prudent? No. Do I think it will make a difference? No. And I think he should spend his time commenting on issues that matter. Talk to us about North Korea. Talk to us about, those jobs that he's supposedly returning to this country, the trade agreements he's supposed to be reversing, the leverage he's supposed to be giving us with China. Talk to us about that stuff. I don't need you talking to me about what you think about a player on a football team, what he does.
He has a right as a taxpayer, and matter of fact, because he's spoken up about it, he said throw those SOBs out when Colin Kaepernick and the rest of the thugs decided that they're going to turn the NFL players.
You called them thugs? Did you call them thugs, Jesse?
I did.
Are you trying to trigger me?
No, I've been called them thug before I spoke to you. I think
but I'm saying you're saying it to me to trigger me or something. That's what we do.
No, I'm not. Okay. I'm just speaking the truth about the issue, in that it does matter that the president spoke up, because it's a disgrace.
I don't think Donald Trump ever called them thugs. So that's your interpretation of them.
Right. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace that those NFL players, black players, who would not be even heard of had not have been for football and the ability to play in this country and make buku money, would turn their backs on the flag, on the country, on the men and women who died in the military and sacrificed their lives so that they can play, on the fans and on their bosses. And so
you think some military people sacrificed their lives so people could play football?
They did.
Is that what you think, Jesse? You really think that?
They have the freedom. They're protected so that they can play football. As a black man,
no, so they can pursue. I disagree, Jesse.
And why?
I disagree.
Why?
I don't think anyone in the military puts themselves in harm's way. Seems comrades lose their life for someone to pursue football. I think they do it so you can pursue freedom. But and that's a whole different thing. So they can do whatever you want to do in your pursuit of that freedom. That's part of being an American, Jesse. I thought you were an American.
But if they didn't have the freedom, would they be able to play football safely?
No, but
if it wasn't for the military?
part of being free is to be able to make your own choices. And if your choice is, this is how you want to exercise your rights, just like you said, Trump had a right to speak up and call Marshawn Lynch, say Marshawn Lynch should be suspended. Well, don't be a hypocrite, Jesse, and say that these people don't have a right to stand or not stand or whatever.
Well, they don't have a right to kneel on a phony charge of police brutality, which doesn't exist. And
that's not going to trigger me, Jesse.
They don't have a right. They don't have a right to kneel at work. They can do it in the hood, but not at work.
They have an absolute right, Jesse. Just like you said, Trump has a right.
Does it bother you as a black American that...
What bothers me is what? A black American, don't frame it that way.
That the NFL...
I'm a person. I'm a human being.
That the
black man. I'm a black man, sir.
That the NFL black players are destroying football. The number of people who are watching the games are going down. The number who are attending are going down. And blacks have been so destructive in America that their only purpose now is to destroy and not build. Are you embarrassed or bothered by that at all?
I'm bothered by the way you just framed that question.
And what do you mean?
The way you just framed that question was deplorable, sir.
In what way?
It was racist.
It was racist?
Jesse, you're a racist, sir. I'm sorry, sir, you're a racist.
Racism doesn't exist, but we'll get back to that. Let me ask.
You have something going on here, sir. This is the way you're framing everything is a black people thing. I don't understand that.
Can you point out in the last 60 years where majority of black voted and supported good, decent politicians, or stood up and rebuilt or created areas predominantly by blacks, or done anything good?
Why is everything black, Jesse?
No, can you name anything good that majority of blacks have done within the last 60 years?
I can't name anything good majority of anybody done in the last 60 years. This country is slipping, brother.
How about blacks?
How about why is everything black? Can we have a conversation?
Because you're black, I'm black, and there are black problems happening.
Just because we have the same color doesn't mean we have the same politics.
That's for sure. But can you name an area where a majority of blacks have succeeded, and it's good?
The majority of blacks have succeeded,
and it's good.
I don't look at the world through what blacks are succeeding in and what whites are succeeding in. I think they're going to be successful people in different walks of life. There are engineers, there are scientists, there are developers, there are football players, there are people with radio shows. I'm succeeding. Are you succeeding, Jesse?
So you can't name where a majority of blacks stood for good and created communities and voted for decent people. Majority of blacks voted for Barack Obama twice, knowing that he is a far left, liberal, socialist black liberation theologians,
Well, who would they go to? Who would their options,
same-sex
Jesse?
abortion
Jesse,
supporter, just the worst of the
support-
worst.
McCain was not a good choice.
They didn't have to vote.
Oh, okay.
It's not like you have to vote. Tim, I read that you were a Bernie Sanders guy, supporter, and not a Hillary. What do you think of the Hillary and the DNC at this point? They seem to be falling apart.
Yes. Oh man, Jesse, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think that the DNC needs a drastic overhaul. I really do, Jesse, and that it's been a long time coming, and that they need to do away with their superdelegates quick, fast. I think that's a horrible way to exercise democracy in any party.
What's your impression of Hillary Clinton?
I think Hillary Clinton is a corrupt politician.
Why has she lasted so long with the Democrats? Because I think the world knows that she is corrupt and wicked, and she's about Hillary and no one else. Why has she lasted so long within the Democratic Party?
I think because she's entrenched the big money interest. I think for so long that she's been a conduit for Wall Street influence, and Wall Street's been able to manipulate her, as they have been able to with other parties, Republican parties. Both parties are brought off by Wall Street. Wall Street spent over $555 million in 2016 in order to influence our elections, and I expect them to exceed that number in 2020.
Yeah, I have no respect for the Republican Rhino Party. I thank God that the Great White Hope is making the Republican Party great again, President Trump. But you're right about the Rhinos. They're no different than the Democrats, that's for sure. If Bernie Sanders should run again, would you support him a second time around?
You know what? That's debatable. I would like to say yes, but we'd have to see, because there's been some conversation. The Russia talk, I don't agree with the Russia talk, Jesse. And Bernie has disappointed me with chiming into that narrative that I don't accept as fact. I don't believe that Russia stole the election in 2016, Jesse. I just don't.
Yeah, I agree. During the campaign, Bernie Sanders was covering for Black Lives Matter. As I said, one of the most radical, evil, agitative group founded by a bunch of black lesbians and homosexuals and social justice warriors. Were you surprised at Bernie cowing to them and not really repudiating them? They're worse than the KKK.
You said worse than the KKK? Wow.
Yes.
And you said lesbians and gays as if that's a bad thing. Do you have a problem with... I don't have a problem with people of different orientations.
No. They are black radical lesbians.
Different
and
because they're black, huh?
No, radical.
Radical.
Yeah.
What do you mean radical? What does radical mean to you, Jesse?
Evil, agitative. They were chanting, what do we want? Dead cops, when do we want it? Now. Pigs in the blanket, firm like bacon. And instead of repudiating these people as they would have done with the KKK or the skinheads, Bernie Sanders and others supported them by not denouncing them, Barack Obama and others. What do you think about that, those chants about police officers?
I think those chants are wrong. I think those chants are horrible chants. I can't defend those chants. Whoever led those chants,
Black Lives Matter did. Yeah, Black Lives Matter.
But whoever those individuals are.
Yeah,
I think there can be different people within organizations, and whoever those people who did that specific chant, those people need to be called out. Those people should be cited for that.
So it was Black Lives Matter. I want to ask you about this. In Washington, D.C., they are complaining about the monuments and the statues. They are saying, take them down, remove the statues. We are offended by it. It reminds us of slavery. The blacks are.
You're not happy with slavery, are you?
And
you don't think that was a great institution, do you?
I think that slavery within itself wasn't good in that it forced people to be a part of it. But
wasn't good?
Right. But
that's the strongest word you can use,
but,
Jesse, is it wasn't good?
But
it was the stripping of humanity, Jesse.
But
it's the worst. Next to death, there's nothing. Next to genocide, there's nothing worse. And some would argue that it's worse than genocide because at least with genocide, you're over with. Like, come on, Jesse. It was bad. That's the worst. You use much stronger language to describe Democrats.
But it allowed you and me and other blacks to be born in the greatest country on this side of heaven. We didn't have to sneak across the borders. We didn't have to fill out an application. And so as a result of that, I'm loving my country. I'm loving what's right. I'm doing right to show my appreciation for those blacks who suffered that I might be here. Do you agree with that? That sounds good, right?
Nah, that doesn't sound good, Jesse. If someone raped your mom and you were the product of a rape, we're still not happy your mom got raped, Jesse.
But my mother didn't get raped, and no one in my family got raped, and no one in my...
Well, you don't know. Well, you're a slave, brother.
Would you rather be born?
Slaves.
Would you rather
the slaves, brother?
Would you rather be born?
My point. Thank you, Jesse.
Would you rather?
I knew that you would. Yeah, go ahead.
Would you rather be born in Africa or America?
It depends on which side of the if I'm a rich African, am I African well off? Because there are some rich Africans, Jesse.
And which would you rather be born, in America or Africa? Mommy, Africa.
If I have the most opportunity and able to raise a family.
And where's that?
I've only been American, so I'm happy to be who I am. I'm happy to be an American. That's the only life I know.
So the point...
If I had a choice, if I could be a well-off and opulent, very successful, born into a rich family in Africa, that'd be great too.
Let me ask. I want to ask about the reason I brought up the statues in Washington, D.C.
Because you wanted to trigger me, Jesse.
Right now in Washington, D.C., the city council wanted to put up a statue of the late former mayor of Marion Barry, who was twice convicted, I believe twice, convicted of crack cocaine. He was a crackhead.
Crack.
And he went to prison. He went to prison.
Marijuana. That sounds worse than cocaine.
He went to prison for, he was caught smoking crack with another woman, not his wife, in the 90s. And yet the blacks re-elected him and as city council. Why would black people want to walk down the road and see a crackhead statue representing them?
Crackhead statue. Wow. You know what? I think that Marion Barry has a very interesting past. And a lot of people look at what he did for black businesses within D.C. I think he transformed black businesses. He mandated that 30% of government contracts, local D.C. contracts, be awarded to African Americans. That was unheard of, and still is unheard of to this day.
So I want to know.
He helped a lot of communities.
So
you
don't have any problem with taking down the statues and the monuments and replacing them with a black convicted crackhead.
No, I think all monuments,
you
are a waste of time. I think all monuments are a waste of time, Jesse.
I mentioned Marion Barry. He was the mayor of Washington, D.C., and he was arrested and went to prison. He was caught smoking crack cocaine. He was a crackhead. And he went to prison. I think he was convicted twice for crack cocaine. And the second time he got out of prison, he was elected by black people to become the mayor, a city councilman of Washington, D.C. And my guest, Tim Black, mentioned that in the beginning, Marion Barry brought jobs and good things in for black people, but he did it because he was a race hustler. He was intimidating white folks. But the crime got so bad in Washington, D.C., as it is today, one of the highest murders rate cities in America. But the crime got so bad that many of the black people left. Businesses left and went to Georgia, Texas, and other areas in the country. And now they want to build a statue, take down the Confederate statues, the flags, and all that, and replace them with a crackhead. Can you imagine walking down the road there in Washington, D.C., your children are with you, and your son says, Daddy, who is that black man on the statue? And you say, that's a crackhead. That's Marion Barry. He was a crackhead.
Jesse, where's your compassion, my brother? Where's your compassion?
The compassion is, I'm embarrassed for black people that they have no shame. Not all, but most.
Drug addiction is a sickness, my brother.
That doesn't mean they have to vote him in as mayor and city council.
You said crackhead several times as if a person with a sickness, a condition, you know, they should be treated. That's something that needs to be treated. Now we know he's passed away. Why do you keep referring to him in such a derogatory way, bro?
Because the man was a convicted crackhead, and now the blacks in D.C. are fighting to put up a statue of him. What is that to be proud about? How are you going to tell your children, look, Marion Barry succeeded as a crackhead?
Well, hold on a second. We're talking about, you juxtapose Marion Barry, a man who held position that was elected by the people, and next to Confederate soldiers who wanted to secede from the United States, who fought against this country. You really want to have that argument, Jesse?
But
that
yet,
people who fought against the country are more deserving of a statue than a man who was elected by the people in this country? I think the people by this country should. I think Marion Barry is a better representation, frankly.
A crackhead. At least
like I said, I look at drug abuse as a sickness, brother. I look at drug abuse as a sickness.
Those men who were fighting back then, drug abuse is not a sickness.
You said drug user, not drug seller, not drug dealer.
At least the Confederate men were decent men. A crackhead is not a decent man. And why would blacks want that?
Right now, that makes me a drug user.
Why would blacks want that as their example? But I want to get in a few calls here. Let's go to the Bible go-to guy out of Los Angeles, California. Bible go-to guy, thanks for calling. You're on with Tim Black.
Morning, Jesse. Thank you for taking my call. Good morning, Jim Black.
It's
I have a question for you. How do you feel about the whole world knowing and witnessing the only athletes on the planet who have ever turned their back on their country's national anthem and flag are black athletes in America? No, and there's been plenty of countries around the world with worse problems than ours. You don't see their athletes turning their back on their own national anthem in their Olympics, in international events, and even in their own national events. You just don't see it. You haven't seen it in 100 years. Black people have the distinction of starting it and continuing it, their traitorous attitudes toward their own country.
That's a good response. Go ahead, Tim.
Wow. Well, first of all, sir, I think that you bring up a very good point. And I think this is what makes America very special. I think America is one of the greatest, if not the greatest country in the world because of what you just described. Our free speech gives us that right. And I think that's an amazing thing. This is what soldiers fought for free speech, for freedom. And freedom, part of freedom, is sometimes you're not going to like how people exercise that freedom. Part of the way people exercise their freedom.
Tim, what you're missing is that blacks are destroying.
Free, sir.
They are destroying and not building up. They don't have the freedom to destroy good in this country. Why not encourage them to do right, to set good examples as they did prior to the civil rights movement?
Why not? Why not encourage police officers?
Oh, Jesus.
Why not encourage police officers?
Oh, Jesus.
Why not encourage our judicial system to do a better job of policing and of more equal incarceration? Why not do a better job on that side?
You're justifying, first of all, that's not true, but you justify a bad behavior to justify the blacks' bad behavior. That's a shame, man.
You're justifying it the other way, Jesse, if you really think about it.
It's changed so much, the black attitude, that you couldn't get black people to do that back in the day. They were fighting to get into the armed forces to fight in World War I and II.
Yeah.
They were such patriots.
Do you know why?
Get them to turn their back on their country, no matter what it
They
seemed.
did that for money.
But
They did that
today,
because they couldn't get
with all
jobs.
the freedom
sir.
and luxuries that black people have, you can't get them to acknowledge America as the country they love. It's amazing to me.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I got to run. Tim, we run out of time together here. I got to ask you this. What is a man?
What
Not
is
a male. We
man?
know what a male is. We know about the body parts. What is a man?
A man is his principles. I think a man is living up to your word. Being a man, in the sense of what does he embody? What would make a person a man? What makes you a good man? Or, I would, like I said, ethics and living up and having integrity.
Tim, thank you so much for coming on, man. We're going to have you back. I enjoyed talking to you.
I enjoyed it as well, Jesse.
All right, we'll have you back.
Have a great day, brother.
You too.